What about your headache?
My headache's super fucking cool.
He says, I said, is my volume's up on my mic high enough? He goes, you're already clipping.
Stupid ass.
Yeah, you're high enough.
Wow.
Oh, shit. More meat, please. Middle of the week, 3 Amigos. Hey, welcome to another episode of This Is Our Normal Podcast, 3 Amigos middle of the week episode. I'm your host, Saul Jones, and I'm sitting here with the other 2 Amigos. Per usual, I have my co-host, Brian Hoodie.
That's me.
Do not call him Sweatshirt.
Or whatever.
And as always, our producer, Joel Cowan. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
How's everybody doing?
Over these Southern California drivers right about now, but other than that, good.
No one knows what that means. Okay. But before we get into things, I just want to remind everybody to go to our website at thisisournormalpodcast.com. You can get everything you need to know about us on there. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. You can get it right from the website, as well as links to Google Play, Music, iTunes, Stitcher, all that. You guys know the deal. The biggest thing is, I want to thank everybody who's gone to iTunes and subscribed. And then the biggest thing is everybody that left us comments and 5-star ratings. We read them all, guys. They mean a lot to us. And just really appreciate that. It really helps us out.
Thank you.
And lastly, as always, all of these podcasts are brought to you by the Serenity Sober Living down in South Orange County. If you need sober living for men's and women's, will be open starting August. If you need sober living, let us know. Hit the contact link on thisisournormalpodcast.com and we will get you hooked up with sober living. We really recommend this place. Highly recommended. And if you come right now, I'm one of the house managers there. You get to live with me.
Dude, we're trying to entice them to come.
Sounds fun.
Hey. So, this is our middle of the week 3 Amigos episode. We keep these a little shorter, just a little fun. Last week, Joel had some really good shit for us about being dual diagnosed.
Thanks, Saul.
Yeah, thank you, man. That was
hopefully I was able to help.
For sure, dude. It was great. And the week before, we had Hoodie told us some stories about jail. That was cool.
Was it?
So I figured this week I'd prepare no content and
let's see how this pans out.
just wing it. So we do kind of we're going to Nevada tomorrow. We're leaving to go out there for some stuff. I'm doing a thing for a major network, I guess. I won't say the name of it just yet because they told us not to really kind of announce it. But we're going out there. There's a network that's going to be interviewing us. They heard the podcast and want to interview us about narcotics, especially dealing with millennials. And so they're going to do an interview out there. It won't be released until early July, but we'll announce that as it's coming out. They get to announce it first. But while we're out there, we're gonna hit up a bunch of our Nevada people that are gonna come on our podcast.
Hell yeah!
One of them, I'm in contact with Dave Marlin. And anybody who's been to Solutions Recovery knows who Dave Marlin is. He's actually running for a government official position right now. He was the former CEO of Solutions Recovery and American Addiction Centers Nevada region. He's going to come on the podcast. So really excited for that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very stoked.
Yeah, among others. Dee Worth said she's going to come on. People might know her. She worked at American Addiction Centers. She's if you guys know who Dee is, you'll know the I love you so much.
I'll take your word for it.
She's wonderful. But yeah, there's among many more people, so we're going to do some podcasts out there and bring them to you guys as we can. But for this week, I kind of want to talk a little bit about, I know that on this podcast we do a lot of like war stories and stuff like that, or whatever you want to call it. I call them just stories,
Yeah.
Right.
And I know people I've heard people say, I don't want to glorify, our past, and you shouldn't be saying that. Let's just talk. But the problem is, go ahead. What are you
there's a difference between glorifying and talking about it.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between glorifying and remembering that stuff happened. If we just ignore our past and pretend that we're not those people and don't take any responsibility for it and pretend it never happened, never talk about it, that's how history repeats itself.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I sick and tired of hearing, when you go into certain programs and they tell you, stop talking about what happened. No, it's very important that we do talk about what happened. We remember what happened. and we learn from it and grow from it. It's accepting that something's happened. I had another person tell me that they're reborn by the program that they're in. They're reborn as a new person, right?
Right.
And so that person's dead. Okay, well, guess what? The reality, that person's not dead.
Yeah.
That person was you. We have to take responsibility for our actions. It's the only way we grow.
100%.
And so I want to be very clear on the difference between glorifying the past and remembering our past so we can learn and grow from it.
Sure.
So that's why I like to tell a lot of these stories. I think it's important that we accept that, these are things we did. We take responsibility for them. Whether, I explain a lot that when we're in our addiction and we're using drugs, we numb our prefrontal cortex. I go on and on about this all the time, and that and our prefrontal cortex is where all of our characteristics are, our morals, our personality, everything about us is there, and we're numbing it with drugs. And so I use that to explain, why everything we do becomes so impactful. But I don't want anybody to confuse that with the fact that was still us. That's still our actions.
Sure.
We're still responsible for that.
I tell stories here and there because, like you said, it is important, but it's not to glorify. I mean, it's all part of my story. It's part of who I am today, the reason I am who I am today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all part of our history.
Yeah,
it needs to be talked about. I agree.
Exactly, man. I've got stories that I'm not proud of, a lot of them. I'm sure we all do. And
most I'm not, for sure.
Completely on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I understand.
Joel, you got any stories that might be helpful that maybe dealing with your addiction that you did? I know that you had told me, you were able to deny having cocaine, not use cocaine a couple times when it was offered to you. And then then you did finally pick up and take it. And how has that kind of changed the person you are and maybe the decisions that you've made since then?
It's kind of like when you try something for the first time and then you just don't do it for a while, at least in my case.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, no big deal.
Right.
And so when I stepped into that third time of trying it and I got hooked, it's just like...
Mm-hmm.
Cocaine is such a powerful drug.
Oh yeah.
I think anyone
Cocaine's
can get
a hell of a
addicted
drug.
to it. It's just that some people are more susceptible than others.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with me, I think the difference between just like the nature versus nurture thing, and so the three of us have such completely different backgrounds from each other. I think that's why it works so good for this show,
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I was more susceptible because I had such freedom as a kid. Like I had no rules, there were no rules for me. I was the youngest of four, and the others were grown up and moved on. And it was, my parents are old, man. They don't want to. So I had free range. I was drinking by the age of 12. I was drinking like a lot nightly, consistently, like, but was it different for you growing up, Joel? Were you allowed to like drink and stuff like that? Was your household different? How was yours?
Very different. I didn't drink my first beer until I was 17.
Oh wow. That's awesome. Okay.
I don't know if it's awesome.
I think it
is awesome.
I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it was kind of an interesting story.
Let's hear this.
My first beer was in Ireland, in Dublin, at the Dublin
Fuck yeah.
Oh, okay.
the Guinness factory.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
I was technically I was only 17, but
you did it right, man.
I scored it as an 18-year-old.
Scored it.
Well, was it legal at that point? Because I know in England drinking age was 16 for a while, wasn't it? Was it 18?
18.
Okay.
Yeah, I told them I was 18.
Nice.
And, I got to the bar and I was like, the guy like gives me that look like, you're not 18. I'm like,
You said go on.
no, it was actually my buddy who was with us on the trip. He was like, can you just hurry this up? And then the guy gave me the beer.
Yeah. Here's your money. Shut up.
A pint of Guinness.
A pint of Guinness. Man, dude, tell me that's not the best fucking first beer story ever.
Right?
Jesus.
Damn.
I had a pint of Guinness at the Guinness factory in Guinness Land. My first beer. That's awesome, man. So, did you start drinking a lot after that? Like when
We were drinking on the trip, but then we got caught by the superiors, the teachers.
Wait, this trip?
Oh,
who
this
was
is a
all
school
over
It
trip?
was a school trip.
Even better.
Awesome.
And then they found out, and we all got in trouble, and then we had to stop
Shit.
for like the second half of the trip.
Damn.
See, I was known around like high school as the guy that like, if you want to go drink, we're all going to Saul's to drink, you know. Like, that's
Yeah, we all had that one friend.
yeah, I was that dude. And now, don't get me wrong, I had great grades. I did really, really well in school. You know, I graduated top 10% of my class. I'm a very smart motherfucker. No, no, I just came from a really, really dumb town, and so
It made you look really good.
no, but you know, I did decent in school, and but I still liked to drink a lot, and so everybody knew, you know, if you want to go drink, go hang out with Saul at his place where we can drink. And I remember the senior like trip or whatever, the class trip that everybody takes in your senior year after graduation or whatever.
What's senior year?
They don't have that in military school.
I got my GED in jail. Does that count?
What an idiot.
I get that a lot.
No, but we went to go to that trip, and everybody was. I didn't go on the trip, but everybody was like, "You should come and bring some booze." And I was like, "Dude, if we get caught at this trip with booze, they know it's coming from me. Like, there's not any other option, and they know it's coming from the alcoholic."
Saul is the source.
So you took it.
So I'm on this trip with a lot of booze.
Right.
No, I stayed home and drank and watched the Dodger game that night.
Selfish.
Did they win?
No,
they never do.
Wow.
I really know how to get under his skin.
On the podcast. But yeah, so for me, drinking became like such a consistent thing where I wasn't like drinking like getting blasted ever. It was like I was just drinking consistently every night to where when I want to say about 20, maybe just 21, I was drinking every night. I worked at Wells Fargo. I'd come home from work and I'd pick up like a 12-pack of beer. It was like a thing that like my grandpa used to do it when he'd come home from work. He picked up a 6-pack of beer, you know, just every day. That was his thing. So I thought that's just how things work.
Right.
You know? So I'm doing that, and I had just met my wife really at the time, or my ex-wife, sorry, and we were just starting to date. And I remember her coming over to my house one time, and she, you know, sees there. I'm watching the game, and there's like 3 empty bottles, you know, on top of I had a little mini fridge in the room, and she goes, "Who was over?" And I'm like, "Me."
Yeah, the Dodgers.
And she's like, "You're just drinking alone? That's weird." And I was like, "Yeah, well, you know, now it's." I was confused.
No, you're weird.
I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" You know. So I remember the next day coming home from work and being like, "I just won't drink tonight. Then I just won't." And I remember opening the fridge and seeing them in there, and just they had that itchy feeling down the center of my back, like, well, why can't I?
Right.
Like, why can't I?
Yeah.
It's right the fuck there. Was it hurting? And I ended up not drinking at first, but by the third inning, dude,
They were losing so bad you needed some stress relief.
me and Sean Green were getting lit, bro.
Oh, snap.
But yeah, and then, you know, I had the same experience when I started using pills. Like, so that same wife. No. So when I started taking pills, I remember like I just never not took them again after my first one. I was like, I'm gonna never not do this again.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And so I was taking them, and not even that many, like a pill and a half a day, but it was working at the time, you know. And
Right.
And I remember getting in the shower one day. I was in the shower, butt naked, you know, staring at myself like, what have we done? No, we've really let ourselves go. No, but I'm looking at myself. I'm in the shower and I'm thinking to myself, man, I haven't had a day where I didn't take anything in 2 weeks, you know. And I remember thinking, like, I'm going to just try and not take him today. And I didn't go through withdrawal, or I probably would have if I let it get that far.
If it went past 6 hours.
Exactly. But I was like, no, these are pretty fun. You know, no, it wasn't that it was fun. It was that like I worked at the bank and I was a banker, and it was like when I would take a couple of those, I could just talk to people. I could sell accounts. I became, you know, the number one banker in California there for a bit. I became a business specialist banker for Wells Fargo at the age of 21. I think the next age closest to me was like 36. You know?
Jeez.
It was, you know, and that was
Doing real well.
Yeah.
Kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of a big deal. No, but I was really proud of it, and I could like really talk to people. Well, when I got the promotion, we moved down to San Diego, and we always had, because I was making so much money, we always had a strong supply of Vicodin at the time, right? And so when we moved down there, I remember being like, yeah, we're not really going to be able to get these, like, so what do we do? And I remember just thinking, well, I'll just stop taking them then, you know? Like,
Yeah.
we'll just stop. And I had never been through withdrawal, dude. So I go down there, we get down there, and like I run through the 100 of them that we brought with. I mean, I made sure we brought a little with us.
Right.
But the minute that I didn't have any, I woke up for work that day, and I was
You
like,
gonna learn today.
let me tell you. I tell you what. Dude, I was like, I was having a panic attack, and I didn't know what that was either. And I'm like, I can't breathe. I can't
Sweating.
Sweating.
Confused.
Shitting.
Why
all
is
over the
this?
place.
I have literally no idea what. I must have gotten food poisoning.
I was like, did I get entire body poisoning because I hurt everywhere? I was like, I didn't work out this year. Why
So sore.
Why do I feel like it's leg day, but all over my whole body?
Oh God.
So
Solid.
So you know, my ex at the time, she also kind of didn't know either. You know, I mean, she probably had an inkling about it, but she was like, she's like, yeah, well, let's go to the doctor. So I called in sick. You know, I go to like the doctor, and I'm just explaining. They're like, oh, you know, I didn't explain to them that it was the first day with no pills. I didn't even think of that. Like it didn't. I was in such bad shape. I wasn't even thinking like.
Stupid.
What did we change today? That wasn't different.
Did you
yesterday?
eat anything different?
Yeah, I ate a little less.
Oh no.
But yeah, so I had a panic attack. I ended up taking a year off work.
Oh my God. A fucking
A
year.
year, dude. They paid for it. I never went to treatment or anything during that time. I was like, I thought I was having anxiety and panic attacks. So I was, you know, that's how I found Xanax at this time. I was like,
Right.
this is
Here's something to help you.
This is oh, thanks, bro.
Nice.
But so I was like, let me introduce some Xanax in there, you know, too. So that really helped a lot.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So did Vicodin
Way helped your situation.
Did Vicodin improve your work performance?
yes, highly,
For a while.
almost as highly as we recommend Serenity Sober Living.
Oh God.
Highly helped my performance, bro. It was, yeah. I mean, because it changed my comfortability with everything. Like I immediately was just comfortable being in social positions. It was like the only way I can describe it is like when I first took it, it was like, oh my God, I'm awake. Like this is what everybody else feels every day.
Right.
This is how I feel. You know, it was never a fun thing. I never once was like, I'm doing this for fun. It was like I'm doing this because now I feel like everybody else feels. So I thought, you know.
Well, it makes you feel normal. After a while, it's not even about getting high anymore. It's first of all not feeling sick and just feeling right. You think that that's how you are supposed to feel. And it's not. But my situation with OxyContin was almost identical, other than the success part at the end. But I know what you mean. I started taking it, you know, or smoking it rather.
Yeah.
And I was always the guy. I'd snort coke and this and that, but after a while, I'd be like, all right, my nose is bleeding. I need to stop for a couple weeks, you know. But then with the oxy, I started smoking it, man. It was just a little bit here and there, but it was for like a week straight. And I was like, all right, you know, time to fucking lay off. I didn't have any weird side effects, but I was like, should probably stop. Yeah, I got sick, and I was like, what is this? Never mind.
What is this?
Didn't
Never
quit.
mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no quitting once you get sick
No.
for the first time. You realize that you will do anything you can to not feel that sick. Because it's not just a really bad flu. It is the worst experience of your life.
Bird flu.
I beg for death when I'm going through withdrawal.
SARS.
You know what I mean? It's...
Yeah, it's bad.
Joel, did you ever experience any withdrawal from any
SARS?
Well, I was going to ask you a question first, which is, do you think it's a big problem in the corporate environment with drugs involved and stuff like that? You know what I'm trying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like as a banker, was there drugs flowing around?
Yeah. At work, yeah.
The more I moved up, the more in those positions, like the more promotions I got, the more drugs were prevalent for sure. Yeah, and
a lot of coke.
Yeah, a lot of blow for sure. A lot of blow. You'd have loved it, Joel.
Go work for Wells Fargo, Joe.
I'd rather just do my own thing at this point and not touch that drug ever again. If possible.
Yeah, no, drugs were really prevalent, especially any sales job. But yeah, in banking too, it was, man, there were drugs. People blow at all the parties we'd go to. Yeah, blow, you know, everybody was heavy drinkers. We got to drink on our lunch breaks. At Wells Fargo, you're allowed to have a drink on your lunch break.
One beer, I believe it is.
Uno.
They didn't say how big.
They do not say how big. And if you go to Chili's, you can get those monsters, bro.
Pitcher and just drink out of it.
He's had one, right?
It's called a boot.
Das Boot.
And I think so. To touch the question you were talking about earlier, the withdrawal.
Touch my question.
No, I'm not gonna. Yeah. So.
There I was. Sorry, Joel. Go ahead.
To talk about your question.
Yeah.
In response, to go back over that, so for me, whenever I took some time off from cocaine, and what I did was I mostly just slept and sweat and drank a lot of Gatorade.
Yeah. So you were
Sounds about right.
That sounds like some withdrawal. Yeah. No, I'm serious. Yeah. I didn't.
It's more recovery mode with. For me, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I've done coke, it's mostly just like you do feel like shit, and you are so fucking tired, and you just are so thirsty.
Well,
need them electrolytes for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know coming down from meth, like I just wanted to sleep and eat like lots of food. To be honest, going into treatment, I had done so much meth that I kind of stopped doing the opiates because I forgot to take them, and so I experienced the withdrawal while I was high on meth.
Yeah,
and it kind of helped me cover it up a little. Like I didn't feel it as bad. And then when I went into treatment and I was just coming off meth, it was fucking great, dude. I just literally slept and ate, and I was like, this is awesome. I slept through whatever withdrawal was left because of the meth. So just saying, if you're gonna go into treatment, hit the meth. No, but like
that's why I was always happy when I would get locked up if I was at least doing both. If I was just doing heroin, I was so sick.
Only a drug addict will you ever hear that. That's why I was so happy when I got locked up.
And I was getting locked up either way, but at least I was coming off of meth and can sleep off the first few days. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you.
So Joel, how long did that last for?
About 3 days.
About 3. Yeah, okay.
Long enough to party.
And then once you came off it, were you like, once you went through that 3 days, was it like, okay, now I'm ready to do some more?
No. It was like I took a good like 2 or 3 months away from it. But it was like pretty consistently using for about a year.
Shit. Like how often we talking?
Every day.
That's pretty often.
Yeah, it is often.
I would do
what size needle were you using to
into your nose?
No needles for me.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
He's not a piece of shit like you would.
Damn.
That's low blow.
Low blow.
No, I mean it's crazy, like the difference too in like doing drugs just different ways. I noticed like when I went from snorting the meth to smoking it was a different fucking game.
Yeah, it always is.
And the higher I went up, the more it grabbed me. It felt like, like when I went from snorting it to smoking, it was like, now I want to smoke and smoke and smoke. Like I just never wanted to put the pipe down. So I think just the addiction really spiraled out for me the more,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
I always feel like it's very, not only is it a powerful drug, but it makes you think you're more powerful than you really are.
Yeah.
Go on.
Which can be like, it can be mind stimulating to think. When you think you're something, then you may become it. You don't know.
Transformers.
We're not allowed to smoke pot, right? Is that what you did before coming in here tonight? I'm just kidding.
No, I haven't smoked pot in a while.
So now, in a while,
like 8 months.
8 months. Nice, man. So when you when you were doing coke, were you smoking weed at the same time, or you would only do coke?
I'd smoke weed sometimes when I use cocaine. Yeah. Was that
talk about fucking dehydrated?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and then I drink.
Was that something hard for you to give up, weed?
No, I didn't really. I didn't like weed very much, but sometimes it'd be really awesome. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, the trip wouldn't be very good. Yeah,
I always got too anxious and paranoid. I couldn't smoke it.
I just did it as like a social thing, but then I'd get all, like really weird and I didn't like it. I'd get like introverted.
I hear that's actually a sign of people that have this impulse control disease. Is when we smoke marijuana, it has this weird effect where we get panicky and can't be around people and like
Well, I used to smoke since on and off since I was like 13, 14. But then regularly once I got out of military school, 18 to early 20s. And then I just stopped once I started doing oxy and all that other shit.
Yeah.
And then I went to smoke one day and I was like, what the fuck happened to weed? Like, this sucks. I hate it. That's how it's been for me every time since then that I tried it.
Yeah.
Which was very few and far between.
Yeah. 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 So I mean, I don't know, man. It's crazy, man. Going through, trying these different drugs out. My life before it, like I never would have thought that I would use basically heroin. Well, I have smoked heroin once, but I mean, basically heroin. Growing up, I have an uncle in England. He's a heroin addict, recovering heroin addict, and I remember growing up, that was the thing was, well, first of all, my family, my mom and all of her sisters always said that I was just like my uncle, that they
were right.
Just remind him so much, they would always describe, and he's a great guy, really smart guy. It was a compliment saying that, that,
yeah.
But it was, I just remember being told, just don't ever do drugs, don't try heroin. And I wasn't ever gonna. I had no idea that like Vicodin and Norcos, I didn't know that is heroin. I had no clue.
Well, it's opiates, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
No, it literally derives like hydrocodone derives from morphine, and heroin derives from morphine as well. There's two derivatives of the poppy plant,
right?
And they both derive from the same derivative. I mean, it's the same drug, man.
In essence, but that's what we do though. Not to cut you off, but I did the same thing with meth and needles. My brother in and out of prison ruined his life over meth. Took a vow. I'll never do that. And same thing with needles. And the further you get into your addiction, the more shit you're willing to do. The more you're willing to sacrifice for that next whatever.
Yeah, man. That was my experience too, man. What about you, Joel? When you started using coke and stuff, were you just more apt to like you'll try different stuff? Like were you just kind of was it like
when I first tried it, like I said, like
real quick, because you're not really the guy that I would expect to try something even like cocaine. You're very strict on your ways, which is a good thing. It's
I told myself I'd never do meth or heroin.
Yeah, and like
I never got around to doing those things, so thank God.
Yeah, right, for real.
From what you're telling me.
Yeah. But like it surprises me to see, because you are really nice and strict in your ways, and you have discipline. You're a very disciplined guy. It's a good thing.
And then cocaine showed up. I lost all
never mind.
Discipline.
That blows my mind.
This is all that matters now.
After you started using coke, were you more open to doing different things? Was it?
No.
That didn't change you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't for everyone, or maybe it just takes longer for some people. Who knows? But for me, at least, that's how it went down.
Yeah, well, like I had the same thing as you're saying, Joel. Like I'll never try heroin, or I'll never try meth. Especially meth. For some reason, I always thought like there was some sort of like real stigma on meth.
It's because there is. It's because there is.
Okay, we won't fight to get rid of that stigma. We'll leave that one out there. But when I started doing methamphetamine, I like that was when I was basically at the point of I'll just try anything at this point.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it is about that time, guys. Joel,
already?
do you have something else you were gonna say? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
I think that's everything for me.
I really like hearing the different perspectives from the three of us. I think
me too.
It's been good.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a good mashup. This is gonna be good in Vegas too. This is gonna be great, guys. We're leaving tomorrow night. Who's excited?
I'm excited.
I is.
But I said this guy, but yeah, I is too.
He's got two thumbs and he's excited. But so this has been the middle of the week Three Amigos episode of the So Normal podcast, and we'll be coming back here soon. Agent Papa's gonna play us out here in a second, but I always want to say thank you to my two amigos here. I got my co-host Brian Hoodie.
That's me.
Don't call him Sweatshirt.
Or whatever.
And as always, the man behind the podcast, Joel Cowan, the producer, the man, the myth, the legend. Sign us off.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Saul. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Saul.
Thanks, me.
Thanks, me.
Looking tough, like you ain't coming back. Hey, little Sammy, when are you going to fly? Times are rough, people get tough, but you got the stuff.